welcome to The Explainer. So, today we're unpacking a universal experience that literally almost every dog owner knows all too well. You're relaxing on the couch, your dog is totally passed out, sound asleep, but the exact second you stand up to grab a glass of water, bam, they're right behind you, shadowing your every single step. We usually just brush it off with a smile, but the actual science behind this everyday behavior is absolutely fascinating. Let's dive right in.
Okay, let's dive into this. The very first answer that jumps into most of our minds when we see this question is pretty simple, right? We just think, well, they follow me because they love me. And look, while it is wonderfully true that your dog absolutely loves you, assuming this behavior is entirely driven by affection is really just scratching the surface. I mean, think about it. If it was purely just love, they wouldn't need to watch your every single micro movement with such intense, unbroken focus. They wouldn't disrupt their own deep sleep just because you happen to wander out into the hallway. When an animal exhibits a behavior with that kind of relentless, unyielding consistency, it usually means something much deeper and way more instinctual is driving the ship.
See, we often get this wrong right out of the gate. We see our dog trailing us into the bathroom for the 5th time today, and we instantly label it as neediness or clinginess. We basically project our own human insecurities right onto them. But to a dog, they aren't being clingy at all. They are actively anchoring themselves to a safe center. Dogs are simply not wired to navigate this world in isolation. They actively structure their entire environment and their whole sense of security around your physical presence. Out in the wild, that anchor was the pack leader. In your living room, that central stabilizing force is you. So they don't just mirror your actions, they orient their whole being to wherever you are.
Now, what's really, truly interesting about this is the measurable physiological changes happening inside your dog when they follow you. They don't even need you to actively play with them or throw a ball or give them a treat to feel better. Just by sharing your physical space, profound things actually happen to their bodies. Their heart rate literally eases, their breathing becomes steadier, their muscles loosen up, and their entire nervous system finds a sense of balance. And all of this happens without you needing to do a single extra thing. You aren't just their roommate, your physical presence is the fixed point where their entire world finds its equilibrium.
But, okay, here is where the plot thickens. When we look at predictive behavior, it gets a little uncanny. Your dog isn't merely trailing behind you like some lost little shadow, they're constantly studying and reading you. Consider those moments when you haven't even fully stood up yet, but your dog's head suddenly perks up and their body completely tenses. They're prepared before you've even made a conscious move. This isn't some magical doggy sixth sense. It's the result of constant, dedicated, daily observation. They're mapping out your patterns so they can anticipate exactly what you're going to do next.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how they pull it off. They do this by studying a rapid sequence of micro cues. Step 1, the subtle forward lean. Right before you stand, your weight shifts. Your dog knows this intimately. Step 2, a slight shoulder adjustment. Step 3, minor variations in how you breathe, or even just how you glance around the room. Day after day, your dog has learned this exact sequence. So when they follow you into the kitchen, it's rarely just a reaction. It's a highly informed prediction based on a deep, studied knowledge of your physical habits. In their world, you are the main event. And they would way rather risk following you and being wrong than stay behind and potentially miss something important.
Which brings us to a very valid, and let's be honest, often frustrating behavioral mystery. If your dog is such an expert at predicting your movements, if they've mapped your micro cues so perfectly, why on earth do you constantly trip over them in the hallway? Why do they suddenly plant themselves directly in your path while you're carrying a heavy laundry basket or delicately balancing a mug of hot coffee? I mean, it feels entirely like clumsy accidental behavior, doesn't it?
Well, surprise? Here's the answer. It is a deliberate action to foster closeness. They aren't being clumsy at all. When your dog steps directly into your path, forcing you to pause, step over them, or do that awkward little shuffle around them, they are engineering a moment. They're moving past prediction and into deliberate action to create a micro-interaction with you. It might just be a shared glance, maybe a quick word of annoyance from you, or even just fleeting eye contact. But to your dog, that brief moment completely reaffirms your bond. It's basically their way of checking the connection, just to make sure it's still strong and present.
Let's move to the next concept and see how this builds upon their ancient biology. Because being pack-oriented isn't just a cute personality quirk. It is a profound biological survival strategy. In our modern world, we think of a dog shadowing us as endearing or, sometimes a bit annoying. But in nature, solitude carries real existential danger. Being separated from the group means absolute vulnerability to threats. So this strategy, remaining nearby and preserving group bonds, is literally hardwired into their DNA. To your dog, separation equals vulnerability, plain and simple. And you can clearly see this ancient survival instinct play out in how they navigate the house. It is all about intentional positioning. Notice how they seemingly just materialize right beside you in narrow hallways? Or how they pause at doorways, always keeping themselves perfectly within arm's reach? When you turn a corner, they adjust seamlessly to maintain that exact proximity. They're not wandering aimlessly. They are actively safeguarding their connection to you because you are their greatest source of security. They're executing an ancient survival strategy right there next to your sofa.
Actually, scratch that for a second. Let's pause here. We really need to look at an uncomfortable truth. As beautiful as this bond is, sometimes this shadowing behavior isn't solely about affection, and it isn't just about ancient survival instincts. Sometimes, trailing your every step is actually a symptom of something else entirely, a lack of purpose. And honestly, this is the part a lot of really well-meaning owners tend to overlook.
Evolutionarily speaking, dogs developed over thousands of years to tackle difficult challenges, to explore complex environments, to hunt, to forage, and to engage in deeply purposeful activities. Now, think about a modern, comfortable home. It's incredibly safe, yes, but it completely strips away almost all of these natural outlets. There are no real puzzles to solve, no meaningful tasks. So what happens? Their mind isn't being used. And because they have limited mental engagement, they naturally turn to the single most compelling, dynamic option available in the entire house: you. You literally become their default mental occupation. So a lot of what we instantly label as clinginess is actually just a bored brain looking for a job to do.
So if you notice your dog is perpetually on, constantly scanning you for any hint of excitement, the solution isn't to push them away or create distance. The solution is to engage those problem-solving instincts. Offer them a tangible purpose. Honestly, something as simple as taking a handful of their daily kibble and letting them hear the satisfying clatter of it scattering across the floor so they have to hunt and sniff it out, that can work absolute wonders. By giving their brain a constructive outlet, a dog whose mind has been exercised will actually feel way less driven to shadow your every single step just out of sheer boredom.
So, the crucial point here is understanding the difference between shadowing for mental stimulation versus shadowing out of pure trust. Yes, sometimes they shadow you because they're bored and looking for a job, but even that doesn't explain the absolute deepest reason they keep coming back to your side, because underneath the boredom and underneath the predictive habit is a much stronger, totally unbreakable emotional foundation.
There is a saying that perfectly captures this feeling. Safety isn't a place you go to, it's a presence you stay close to. Your dog doesn't follow you just because of habit. They follow you because to them, you are the physical embodiment of safety. It's not their expensive dog bed, it's not the comfortable living room rug. It is you. Wherever you move, that feeling of safety moves with you. When you stand up and leave the room, the safest place they know in the entire world just got up and walked away. Of course they're going to follow.
And that brings us to what this behavior truly represents. This is trust in its absolute purest form. It's why they will happily choose a hard, cold floor right by your feet over a plush, ridiculously comfortable bed in the other room. When they're next to you, their guard completely drops. And honestly, the most beautiful part? Nothing is expected of you in those moments. You don't have to talk to them, you don't have to pet them. Just your mere presence is enough to act as their absolute sanctuary. When a dog chooses to stay close, even when there's no food, no play, and nothing tangible to gain, that is profound, unwavering loyalty.
So I want to leave you with this final, kind of provocative question to think about. Will you ever look at your dog's clinginess the exact same way again? The next time you turn around in the kitchen or the hallway and see them standing right there behind you, remember that you aren't just seeing a habit. You're seeing incredible attention, an actively engaged mind, and a deep instinctual trust that most people never fully appreciate. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this deep dive helps you understand and appreciate the fascinating mind of your dog just a little bit more.